Good morning and welcome to The Point. It is Friday, March 19th, 2021. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11 and 20, and good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9. My guest this morning is the Farmers and Fisher Folk Representative in the Senate, the Honorable Roderick St.Clair. We thank him so much for joining us. Good morning, Roderick. How you doing?
Good morning to you, Blossom, and say good morning to all citizens, our fishers, farmers, or folks involved in all the different sectors of agriculture, or folks involved in the flowers and beekeeping, the whole crew, agro-processing, and who keep the country going and feeding the nation at this difficult time.
Difficult time indeed. Thank you once again for joining us.
I want to also say quickly as we hear is that two things. We had a loss in the fishing fraternity again. One of the gentlemen, a fisherman from Grenville who died while out at sea, and so we want to express condolences. I think his name is Eric Williams. So we want to express our deep sympathy on that. And of course, we had yesterday the funeral of well-known, not only a fisher, but a sportsman, Mr. St. Louis, Johnson St. Louis. Not a big loss for the fishing sector. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And sympathies to those who would mourn their passing as well. Let's look at the broad spectrum of things since your appointment as the Farmers Representative in the Upper House. Let's look at some of the things that you've been able to accomplish, some of the issues that you've raised in the Upper House so far as you started your journey.
Thank you so much. I think it's important for this opportunity to provide an update to my constituents and, of course, the broader community as to what I've been working on and some of the progress. Some of it you may not see physically, but I think we are making a lot of progress. I would say one of the major connection, I think, is the relationship with the government is very, very key. And I think we have a very good working relationship with the Ministry of Fisheries and, of course, the Ministry of Agriculture. I say this to say that only on the 18th of February, we had over about 70 fisher folks and involved in seamounts producers meeting in the trade center, and that was a joint activity with the Ministry of Fisheries, where we looked at various topics and issues within the sector so that we can plan together. I think that is a major accomplishment. I think what we need to see now is the report highlighting issues, and then, of course, validation and so on to make sure that we capture that the correct information was captured, and then we look at a plan going forward. This we expect to have soon. In the meantime, I am in connect with the participants who are at that session, and we are looking to form a sort of national, and I don't want to use the word national, but a sort of steering committee where we will be ready to engage further these issues that were discussed so that we can then start acting, because not everything is government. Some of the things the fisher folks, the fisher organizations can work on. So we have that connection in place. So, for example, only this week, I had one of the fisher folks out of Waltham in St. Mark's contacted me saying, hey, we see a big boat out in the ocean and we're wondering what is happening because it can interfere with the lines of the fishermen, etc. And the fisher was very concerned about that. And this matter, I would have then contacted Mr. Moran, who was very cooperative again in the fisheries division. And then I connected with another gentleman in the Port Authority, and he explained and so on. And then there was information that was transferred. Apparently, some boat that is waiting to sell oil or something like that. But it's in the way, I guess, so fishermen need to be aware of those things. So I think I raised that to show that the level of communication between myself and the stakeholders is there. We also have some significant work that was started regarding the issue with the feed and not only poultry, but the whole livestock industry in terms of making feed more affordable so that we can consume more of our local food and stimulate the industry. I think this is another major area of accomplishment. Another area of accomplishment is that, I've been clamoring about an office and how do we get some office space. We have been successful so far. Only 2 weeks ago, I got a call out of a request that was made to the MNIB, and they have now allocated a room for the Senator for Agriculture and Fisheries. So we want to commend the board and the management there for such gesture. And of course, it's a matter now of having a person or persons for that office, and of course, equipment, etc. And of course, I would make an appeal because, as I say, I have no physical budget as other parts of the government, and persons who might be willing to volunteer time, volunteer a computer, as the case may be, will be willing and really ready, so that could help us to advance the work that we have been doing. I've also met with a series of different farmer groups throughout the country, and physically, and also visited only this week. I visited again another elderly gentleman who wanted to go into livestock. As you know, this is a major area, and I was only last time speaking to Dr. Cummins at the ministry and see how we can coordinate to push that forward. But we have to look at it as a broader perspective in terms of how do we get the livestock industry together. I have been trying to connect with some of them. They seem to have had some semblance of some group, some maybe 2-3 years ago. So I'm getting through to a few of the folks. So I'm making a call using this medium Blossom that they can contact me on number 405-2474, or they can email agrisenatorgd@gmail.com, so that we can able to get this livestock individuals together. That has been one of my challenges to connect with them in a global way. Also, in the poultry industry, the poultry, they have had some challenges even within the organization, and I've been working along with the president and the others to see how we can get them back up and running, but also how do we address the issue of the feed and so on. We also know we had some opportunities with the waste to feed, waste to protein. That was a plan that was very helpful in the past, and so I've been there are some challenges there. They've been done for about maybe 4 or 5 years. So I've been also intervening to see how they can find common grounds to restart. So these are just some of the things that I've been working on in the past. At the parliament level itself, there are some unfinished business, I would say, that we have on the table. I have a series of questions, about 5 different questions relating to the land use policy, regarding with the whole issue of the mongoose and the treatment for mongoose, the issue of the poultry policy, the issue of predatory larceny. That's a big topic we'll talk about shortly. So I have a series of questions I've asked the government to respond to, so that we can better understand as a nation and as a farming and agriculture community, where are we in this space. Of course, I also have some motions, 2 motions, very important. One, to look at the whole issue that government should review the whole arrangement within the Caribbean agro, but in a broader space that is not only about the Caribbean agro, but how do we review the whole arrangement to make feed more affordable for our livestock farmers. What that review would be, I already see government take some action. What the result will be, we don't know, but that is on the table. And of course, the issue of implementation, that has been a concern. In fact, in 2 of the farmers' meetings I had, they was asking, how we know government is doing what they are doing? Are they following up? And so that question is on the table in terms of how do we look at implementation schedules regarding government's plan pertaining to the budget and promises that has been made. We also, in that same context, is also looking at the issue of our fisheries and ice machine. You know, that's been a big issue. Recently, we saw the announcement of the minister that the ice machine has been fixed in Guava. I was in Guava only last week. And, you know, some of the folks are saying, no, they're so happy that that is up and running. But of course, we have a bigger picture. The Japanese would have funded some project to look at fishing, and I'm trying to see where are we with that. So I have some questions, and I'm waiting some answers on that, and we trust by the next sitting of the House, we can have something to share about in a very practical way. So these are just a synopsis of some of the things we've been working on.
Have you seen results from some of the issues you've raised in Senate sitting and the requests you've been made, suggestions you've made, concerns that you've shared? Have you seen results of that?
Yes, I would see results. I mean, for example, the poultry and the livestock issue, I think that is bang on. I mean, you know, I remember, you know, I meet persons on the street and they say, be careful what you wish for. And I'm wondering what the hell they were speaking about. And then someone said, you know, remember that the president said, be careful what you wish for, when he said that we need to relook the whole issue with Caribbean Agro. And I said, oh, okay. And then, of course, I realized the government immediately. I even said, you know, I have confidence that the government would act. Some people say, well, you're supporting government, you know. No, I think the government understands what needs to happen, and we have to ensure that we raise those issues in a very firm way as it impacts our lives. And folks, there are persons right now who literally is on the side of bankruptcy based on the investment in poultry. Not only because of the feed price, but the feed price would have exacerbated the whole situation, and they have challenges. So this we want the government to act on very swiftly, but not in a half-baked way, but let's come up with a real sustainable solution. In fact, there is already some work taking place that I am included in with the Ministry of Agriculture, trying to put a broader plan that will not address a lot of those issues. So I will say yes. As it relates to the ice machine and all those other areas that have been fixed, we can see some results there. There is other activities that are taking place that is not visible yet, especially matters to do with predial larceny and so on, because I've been in discussion with the Ministry of Agriculture on those matters, and I know there is some work there, but Sister Blossom, whilst we're waiting for work to be done, farmers are losing their crops, persons are stealing the animals, and they are bleeding, and we need more action in this area. It's not enough. It's really not enough. I mean, I spoke to a predial larceny officer in Grenville only recently, and he said, brother, I say, I understand your problem. I say, we just have to fix it. I say, the minister understands the problem. The commissioner understands the problem. So I don't know what is holding them up from solving the problem. You need people, because you have like one man, basically, you have two persons. And then they have no vehicles. So how do they get to the point? And it's not that they don't want to, they are motivated. I mean, I had discussion, but their hands are tied. And something has to happen. I have expressed those concerns to the minister in no ordinary way, that they need to take action. Farmers are hurting badly, you know, real bad. And that brings the whole issue of the crop compensation. So when those things happen, people say, well, like for example, the case with the animals, the loose animals, damaging Buenos and Ken and those guys in Simmons. What they get is little or nothing, you know, for the efforts that are put in to it. So we need that whole schedule for compensation crop to be relooked. And someone else would have raised that with me about 2 months ago. And I'm happy that we can start discussing that matter. So yes, I would say that we are seeing results. There's another issue that we also have to look at, the issue of the fuel rebate for the fisher folks. That is another matter that we have to look at. But I'm doing some more research to get it properly to understand it better, because remember, I'm also learning some of these ways. I've also had some meeting with the MNIB regarding how MNIB can play a greater role in supporting the farmers. You know that I have advocated, and since I've taken up this office, the issue of we have a lot of organizations and cooperatives, they need support because a lot of time they don't have that managerial capacity, irrespective of whatever executive position they may hold within it. And we have to understand that fundamental. And we have to support them. So does an organization like MNIB maybe needed extra persons maybe to help, maybe through the money support or through mentoring of other business persons and so on, to provide that sort of framework to support these groups so that they can be stronger. And this is a commitment I have made with the organization to work with them to help provide that support. So, of course, the office provided me as a senator is one of the steps I would say that to get closer such that we can be able to provide the support so the organizations can become stronger. Because the MNIB Act speaks to that, providing support, so the beekeepers and all of them. And so I have some thoughts and models that I have discussed with the current CEO, and I would work with them to get that done. It's not difficult, you know.
The last time you were here, it was we discussed the then proposed increase in the price of animal feed and poultry. Since then, that increase has taken place. How has this affected farmers specifically? We all know about the ripple-down effects for us, the consumers, but farmers themselves. And I know there were discussions among the Poultry Farmers Association about increasing the price of eggs and the chicken per pound. Have all farmers adhered to the suggestion as yet?
Yeah, so a couple of things. In fact, it's interesting because part of the action that I would have initiated is the whole issue of a petition. We had a petition. We had over almost 300 persons signing that petition, and that is already placed at the Parliament for our next sitting. I trust it's on the other paper. That is there where we would have expressed, not we, but farmers, because I cannot sign it on behalf of the farmers, and would express their concerns and say, government, can we reduce the price of feed? That is also another significant achievement because we had persons, and persons were worried. The price has gone up already. Why I should sign this thing? You know, so sometimes even as individuals, we have to understand that change is a process and it's not a bully process. And as a parliamentarian, we have to use the instruments and tools that are available to us. And so I want to commend those who would have signed on, and I'm asking the others in the future, there might be other petitions, irrespective of whether or not what you're trying to petition take place, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you add your voice to the whole process. As citizens, our voice in the process of democracy and governance is beyond just going and vote and put an X on the day of election. It is all of these instruments that we have to be using. And that's what I'm there for, to facilitate my constituents in that process. Now, specifically as it relates to the impact, yes, farmers are complaining because we have some issues there. Blossom, and let's deal with that. It may sound unconscionable that you had to increase the price of the poultry and of course the price of the eggs and so on. And the supermarkets may say, hey, consumers are not buying into this. So really and truly, I know you increase the price, but we cannot pay the price. This, my understanding is, our suggested prices as for the effect of the change or the increase of the price of the feed. So you as an individual may decide how you decide to sell. Because even as I was speaking to somebody poultry, but I say even when eggs been $20, some people been selling for 18 and 15 and 16. You know, it's you may decide how much you're willing to or even birds themselves, how much you're willing to absorb. Of course, it's my understanding that the egg producers is sort of less, I would say, less affected because eggs continue to produce. But of course, if the feed is not proper, etc., then the eggs are smaller, and then you have to sell cheaper and all of those fanciness. But that has been a drawback. That has been a concern at the retail level. It is a concern because some folks right now cannot even buy. They decided better to not buy chickens. So in fact, what they discover, what I learned, is that last year, 2020 chickens, the old chicks that was imported into this country was something about 43,000. And it's also about 1,500, I think, happened in January this year. So it's based on that, I think, but based on the reports. So we already see what is going to happen. And so if you realize it's a difficult thing to feed, the best thing is to stay out, because these chicks may suffer and die, and your investment will end up in problem, and then you cannot pay the bank. There are people who take loan recently to go into the investment. So that is a big issue. But there's some other things also that government can do. So for example, one of the call that we're making on government, because it's not only the Caribbean agro issue, have to look and see how do they adjust, not necessarily, as we say, more affordable. More affordable also involves the quality, so you get the performance of the birds. But we also have another issue that we need to look at, which is something that we have had on the table with the government, the issue of the VAT. Now, the fresh chicken, fresh bird, this fresh 1 day, 2 days, carries no VAT. The moment it's frozen, then VAT applies. So a bird that may have, what, say, $20, fresh, it means that in 3-4 days afterwards, there is 15% VAT on this 10%, whatever the rate is. So that price goes up to the consumer. So government, we also want to see what kind of intervention we can make there in making that temporary adjustment also. So that is why the call is not only about one way. The call is, we need to look at it in a broad spectrum way. And that is key in the process. But I will tell you that we have to be more vigilant as a nation. And I'd call for that in the Senate when we discuss the issue with the Grenlec matter. I say we have to be more vigilant as workers, as public servants, as whether it's private sector, it doesn't matter, as workers within our own space. We have to be more vigilant on a lot of things. So, for example, the fact that the feed is a price control item, it means that there's supposed to be some level of monitoring, certain level of reporting, certain level of clearance that the government, through its legal system and the Ministry of Trade, etc., has to apply. So if there is changes in certain things, those things have to be done in accordance with the rules of the country. And I think I'm not too sure if some people just didn't know. They wasn't bothering, they were sleeping. But no, all who was sleeping have to wake up now and go back to the files, because the question I keep asking, okay, we raise this matter now, Caribbean Agro submitted a thing, they take the action. When last was a raise in price, and what was the mechanism that was used? Did they do it quietly and nobody spoke? And did they submit the documents and the ministry then sat and they came with a conclusion and they give them the okay to go ahead and do that? I know from previous experiences that these price control items have to be signed off by the Director of Trade or the Minister or someone. That's protocol. So I want to know that if such protocol has been followed for previous rise that has taken place, particularly with this matter, and maybe with other matters. Because you see, for us to become better, we always have to try and improve. We're not saying that we have to cascade on the past, because we all make our own shortcomings in life. We are human beings. And so sometimes in these tough times, we have to, just be a little bit more sharp and see how we can block different holes for the betterment of everybody. And if we do those things, sometimes it's less pressure on everybody. And then pressure financially, pressure mentally, and we could be a much happier nation.
Let's take a break, Mr. St. Clair, and then we're going to come back and continue the discussion. I know we have to tackle prettier larceny as well. This is To The Point on GBN and Classic FM. We'll be right back.
We understand it can be hard getting from the bus terminal to the Kirani James Athletic Stadium just to get your fresh fruits and veggies. But guess what? Your troubles are over. Enjoy a free bus shuttle from the bus terminal to the temporary market at the Kirani James Stadium
every Friday and Saturday until the end of March.
Let us buy local, eat local, and support our local market vendors.
Man Skulls, we see how this cake, she come down with this cake since morning, and she had the cake on the plate, the man hungry, she wouldn't say, well, look, piece of cake. Well, tell you, man, get a piece of cake now. You see, give me a piece.
You see, I'm waiting for Doc missing. Well, King, that piece of cake here is for you. You could have that cake. I thought about you. Yeah.
So I will take
No. That piece of cake is not for you. This little piece of cake here is for you. You
but you don't need cake, so what?
Yeah, but that piece of cake here is for Doc. You see, no matter what I try, no matter what I do, Doc only starting to go and sell in market. You understand? And beauty brain, I poke up my lip, I get dressed up, is what I don't do, it just do walking. So I decided I get up early this morning. Before I brush my teeth, before I bathe, I make sure and I take care of that piece of cake. You know what I mean? I take care of that piece. You know what I mean? Okay, I take care of that piece of cake. So that piece of cake here is for Doc. Unless any one of you want to spend the rest of your life with me, don't touch that cake.
Scarlett, she go hold him. That dead.
Hold what? Listen.
She go hold him.
Listen.
You don't know holding him.
That cake here is for Doc. That's all I'm saying. That cake here is for Doc and it's for Doc alone. Don't touch that piece of cake. Touch it at your own risk.
Folks, join us this Friday on We Culture, and you're going to hear everything about polling, shaman, akadamatuku, mandundun, and we probably might force Risi to tell us what she do with that cake. So be sure to join us this Friday. Skulls, dead.
You don't dead.
Leave him like that.
You don't dead. The things I have in store for Doc, Doc coming alive. Then what?
This Friday, We Culture. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Greetings, this is Eugene Gattuso, and I'm inviting you to join me every Saturday morning from 10 to 12.
Welcome back to The Point, speaking with Farmers Representative in the Senate, the Honorable Roderick St.Clair. Before we get to the phone lines and our viewers and listeners, another issue that I wanted to discuss as well is in relation to what is known as CITES, the Convention for
Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species.
Right.
Wild fauna and fauna.
Some of our local divers, fisher folk, are discussing or want to start the exportation of conch or lambi, as we call it here in Grenada, and these other creatures. But lambi is considered an endangered species. Conch is considered an endangered species. What needs to happen before we can think about that new business that can possibly earn our farmers, Grenada, some revenue?
Yes. Well, the first thing I want to say is that as an endangered species, it means definitely we have to have management. So we know that. So it means that we have to manage the stocks, we cannot overfish, and so on. We know so the first thing we need to do, based on my understanding, and I find this thing is very strange, because there are some projects that are supposed to deal with this thing years ago, is that we need to do some studies to say, okay, this is the stocks, and we provide that data, because it's an international treaty which we belong to, so we have to treat properly, so that you don't find I exporting 2,000 pounds of conch to say the UK or some place like that, and hold the Congress and say, oh, Grenada, you are signatory to this thing. How come you're breaking the agreement? But if you do your research and do your data collection, you can see, okay, my levels is 5 million conchs. So they say, okay, well, maybe you can harvest 50% of it. And then you may even go into a closed season, open season, based on the reproductive schedule, etc., right? So that is where this whole maths come in. And so what our divers are saying is that we need to be able to export this because this is a very high value product. And so how can Grenada do this? And for Grenada to do this, we need to take action. My research has shown that the Ministry of Forestry is the focal point in Grenada for this. A focal point don't mean that they have to do the work. It's, coordinating and so on, because it's not only about the fishing is live, but also plants and animal too. But my interest here is dealing with the conch and so on, right? And so the Fisheries Division, again, have to act on this matter. I understand that there may have been some project in the past to support initiatives surrounding this. But sometimes you don't act in time, the project finish, you didn't take the data, etc. And we have institutions like the St. George's University, which has a very strong marine biology competence to able to assist in some of these areas into the necessary research that need to take place. And what is interesting about this, I only kind of get onto this during the consultation, and I found that was very strange. Here we have an opportunity, but what is strange about that, Blossom, is that through my reading, I realized that the UNCTAD, and UNCTAD is the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, they, in association with our OECS desk, OECS Secretariat, that's a big institution, has a project that involves Grenada and St. Lucia to look at the whole issue of maximizing the benefits and the trade, they call it the biotrade and the blue economy, regarding conch and sea moss. They call it algae, well, mainly sea moss is our main thing. So that seems to be going on one side. But in compact, now I know to show this workshop and this webinar and all of these things happening, going to really put monies in the pocket of the fisher folks, or the divers, and this country. Because our webinars are trading, how do we train? But the trading those saying go and do the studies, go and dive. So we really calling on the government to add to that so that we can do better in this area. And whilst we are that, Blossom, before we switch topic, and now maybe my last thing here, is that I'm also calling on our fisher folks in particular. Please, we need to have this NIS thing resolved, because that is how the divers in particular, who at some point will end up with the bends, would need to be able to get the services of this stabilizing chamber. I've spoken to the PS of fisheries. We have a very good relationship, and so we work together for the advancement. And he assured me that they already have some work that started in discussion with NIS. I'm not too sure where they are with it at this stage. But we have also had some discussion with another fisherman called Ricardo. He was very informative in the information he was able to share with me. And there is some models and ways how it can be done with the NIS deductions through the fishermen, the fisher boat, because normally a fisherman may not necessarily own a boat. He's an employee, like a bus driver. And so the owners of a fishing vessel can arrange and make those payments of the NIS and so on. So that is not a difficult administrative matter. That is always the first part you need to look at, how the administration can be done. And I believe that could be done in that way. So I'm watching to see what the ministry is doing. They are the legal authority, and in whatever support they need, and that I'm right here, and I've encouraged and I've continued to encourage our fisher folks. Not that saying that our farmers and other stakeholders, people involved in flowers and so on, agro-processors, need to also be looking at the NIS, because as this time we see with the COVID, how the government has the application to support the unemployment benefit, that is the legal and easy way that can be traceable. And so collectively, we all can have a better life if we do things properly. So I really wanted to address the CITES. And the fact that there is a project, these are international organizations, unless we just want to preserve, I don't know. And another matter too we need to look at too, Blossom, is the issue of transportation. Because again, I've been speaking to some fishermen, particularly those who are involved with the tuna and the export. That's a big issue. We have mainly Amerijet as the main player here in terms of cargo for fish out of Grenada. Fresh fish, remember when you export fish, it's not frozen, it's just on ice shield, so you have to move immediately. So the guys go, the fish, they come in, and the plane is not going. Oh, that's a problem. What happens to this fish? The fish ends up on the local market. Of course, we may buy it cheap, but then again, we lose income and revenue because that fish or the grade may lower because it spent longer in the chilled. This is an area. Only yesterday, I had a discussion with one of the chief exporters in Grenada, and we need to look at that. It's not necessarily like a government per se problem. Government not doing its due. But as I spoke to the gentleman, I say, we need to look and see how we can maybe charter planes to move this fish out. Because if we can get it out, there are ready markets for them. So maybe, again, government through the airlift committee can find some intercession with some of the funds that is there that we used to be giving to the other airlines when we didn't make the quota, and energize and support, stimulate a very important industry in this country.
In relation to the exportation of the conch, do you think it's a viable money maker for our farmers? To explore?
Yeah, it is, because I'll tell you what, it speaks of high value. And from speaking to the fisher folks, and the fact that you're speaking high value, you're speaking about a value that is higher than what we're getting for fish right now. So if you can add this to the mix in terms of a fisheries export, and you put CMOS and that collectively, maybe we can be looking maybe at an additional $5, $6, $7 million into this country, and also creating more jobs and opportunities. At the same time, I really want to see some processing, because we spend a lot of money in saltfish, cornfish, saltfish. We could do it in Grenada. We have the sun. So this, whoever is listening outside them and want to look at that, explore this opportunity. This is a great opportunity to do our salt fish local. We used to do it before in the revolution, and it's something that we shouldn't run away from. At the same time, though, we need to manage our resources wisely, and we don't do overfishing, etc., etc., etc. So that is one angle. But of course, I know we speak a lot about fishing, and some folks will say, what's going on with the other areas. Beekeeping is another big area, apiculture. Again, we have some challenges in that sector. The industry the potential is there, but we need some organization. We need to have stronger organization. That is something I want to work with. I've been speaking with the officer in the Ministry of Agriculture who is providing direction and leadership there. We need to get that going. We need to get some of the senior people who are involved to really step up and provide good mentorship. And for those who might be daunted, let not history sometime cause you to run away, because one of the best ways to be able to survive is through the groups and organization and corporate. I support that 100%. You will have challenges, but you cannot feel you can do it on your own. It wouldn't happen. It really can't in this time.
Let's go to our viewers and listeners who may have questions for Senator St. Clair. The landline number 435-2041. That's also the WhatsApp number. Please, only written messages on WhatsApp, and you can also continue to post your comments, questions, queries, concerns on Facebook and YouTube. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Blossom, and morning to your esteemed guest, Senator St. Clair.
Good morning.
A number of issues I want to raise. But first of all, let me applaud him for the approach he's taken in terms of how to do being a representative of farmers and fisher folks and so on. So I think that the approach is very commendable. However, to be able to make that more successful, you will need things like research assistants and others to help. And although you talk about being, afforded the office in the MNI, we have a little difficulty in terms of whether there might be conflict of interest here. But I'm not raising that issue right now. I just have a think. And certainly, somebody like you need an office and equipped with facility that could support the work that you have to, because agriculture is even more important than tourism, as we have been touting in Grenada. Soon after COVID, the onset of COVID, the government announced some kind of program to deal with COVID relief agricultural things. Can you speak to that for me? That's one. Could this where we are with this one? Also, in terms of, we have a number of projects coming on, or enterprise coming on with large production of, like a chicken farm. We have a chicken factory coming on soon. I call it a chicken factory, or meat factory. Are we addressing the issue of, are we ensuring as a nation, being the representative of the farmers, in terms of the waste, how we manage the waste? Okay? That's one. That's another one. In terms of genetically modified organism in our food, what can you see in speaking to that in terms of where we are, in terms of protecting our people, and what is the state of the biosafety protocol? Are we implemented? And another question has to do with the pesticide protection, the pesticide board. Is it functioning now? I'm concerned about the level of chemical in the food system in Grenada. It really stinks, excuse my language. It actually smells in the food.
Okay.
And then finally, the final question is, in terms of the national sustainable development plan, are you satisfied that there is, that the approach or the provision within that plan is sufficiently or progressive enough for the level, the age we are as far as agriculture is concerned? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator St.Clair?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Some high-level questions. Some I would defer and some I going to answer. Yes, definitely in terms of the sort of office support, and they don't have to be in the physical office, but at least personally, that's why I mentioned if there are volunteers, persons are willing to assist, in different ways. I really would appreciate that. As they say, they can contact me 405-2474, and I'd be more than glad to assist. To welcome, or they can email me. They could do an agrifishsenator, Grenada @gmail.com or agrisenatorgd@grenada @gmail.com. The conflict of interest thing, I wouldn't, perceptions is we have to look at the reality at the end of the day. When, if it happens, that could easily be checked out. I consider myself a very fair person, and not easily swayed in different direction as, I leave that to the judgment of people. So I'm not really worried as an individual in this personal context. Of course, I wouldn't be the senator for life, but of course we have to appreciate in the meantime, and that someone came out and helped and provided support, because MNIB provides support to farmers too, and so we have to look at it in that context. So maybe if another fisheries organization gave, if government gave, then we go say, well, it's another conflict of interest. And so we have to manage those expectations. The COVID relief, of course, I know the fisher folks has been complaining, the poultry has been complaining, in particular in terms of that support regarding the COVID. They have not felt it, but this is something I need to investigate myself personally. So I have to be very careful in making blanket statements regarding that. There could be statements that could be made saying there's no proper mechanism, but there might have been some way in which they could have access. So, but the broad statement is that they have not seen it, they have not felt it. And this is something that we need to look at. the management of the chicken waste and so on is an important point. And so if we can get this protein, waste to protein initiative back up and running, then we could have a real collective cycle using the fish waste and all the other waste, which can able to add more value to our local economy. The issue of the biosafety and the GMOs, I know Grenada's position of those no GMO biosafety protocol. Again, you pick a big question, because I have to ask the ministry what is happening. Since the Ministry of Agriculture doesn't have a chief technical officer. I don't know how your chief technical officer, your chief agricultural officer is that person who provides that technical leadership and direction within the ministry. Of course, you have a permanent secretary administrative. And so it's like having the Ministry of Communication and works with a CPO. They don't want to know what is going on with the technical aspects of roads and other construction. This need to fix urgently. I have discussed this matter with the minister, the need for that, because that going to also expose him in different ways that he may not want to be exposed, meaning that he could end up running around with wrong decisions, wrong direction, and so on. So this is a position that need to be filled, irrespective of government's decision. You could not have a chief technical officer. At least make somebody. You cannot find one within your current construct, or you have to hire one. And so I know that the past chief agriculture officer, Mr. Daniel Lewis, I know he was the main man involved with the biosafety and the GMO. So I don't know if that has died since he has left, not left, but retired from the system. The Pesticide Control Board, I know they do function. I know the chairman, and I would have a discussion to see where they are. But I know overall the Ministry of Agriculture, and of course, most of the persons involved in fresh fruits and vegetables and crop production have been advocating safer chemicals, safer approaches. And if you go onto our shelves, you will realize that we have safer chemicals and so on that are being used. In terms of the sustainable plan, this I need to look at it again in the context, because all of this again need to be fit into the broader scheme of what our budgets is. Our budgets and so on should be pulling out from those big plans, or big national 2035 and all of those plans. That if it's not in connect, then we gonna stray along. So this I think I want to work on, and I want to speak on those friends of yours. Thank you so much for that interventions.
YouTube question: Are there any plans in bringing back sugar production in Grenada instead of rum making? When I look around and see how the rum is mashing up the young people of the country, any plans for bringing back sugar production?
Yeah, it's a good question, because only 2 days ago I went down visiting with say a livestock farmer way into La Poterie area. And what is interesting is that I saw cane actually been planted, recent cane. And for those in that area, Tivoli and this area may know about the control, used to drive bus and so on, Robert and those guys. Actually, it's within their sort of land space. And we know that he used to be doing the molasses and all of those things. So I was, okay, this is nice. So I know those are not for rum for sure. But should they go back in sugarcane? I cannot speak specifically, but again, maybe not in a broad way for sugarcane for doing tons and tons of sugar, but we can do maybe certain specialities. Sugar mixed with different spices, all those different type of things, and we can look at those, doing it under maybe a fair trade grouping, so it's become a high value. So these are those sort of innovation. And of course, these are the type of ideas that we need to be having lodged over our IDC, so that we can able to have, and I keep mentioning this thing over and over, we don't have to wait for a foreign investor. We have our diaspora which can invest. Once there is a portfolio of projects listed there, we can have our diaspora coming in and adding value to our local economy with a lot of the funds that they have sitting in accounts that they really want to come and help. But what is it there to really invest in? So I endorse, yes, but speciality.
WhatsApp question: what is the policy between government and hotels such as Sandals and so as it relates to importing against buying locally, taking into consideration farmers struggle to sell their products?
Yeah, well, I love this question. I love this question because I find it difficult to understand why is it we hug in agriculture and we hug in tourism, and when the real time to come to kiss, we don't want to kiss. And I say this to say that is the kissing point. The kissing point is to ensure that in these agreements, as we would have made other agreements, for example, the same Caribbean agro agreements, what is holding us back from having an agreement that specifies that they need to buy a certain percentage of the product from our locals, our farmers, our fishers, our livestock? All of them can produce to the quality that is required and to the quantities, But when they don't have a secure market and they invest, they wonder what happens to all this money that they put up for. That is the challenge, And so if they can get this guarantee, then we shouldn't have a problem. And we really want that policy, that whole commitment to change. And not just about working with 1 or 2 or 3, it must be a national direction. It's a national direction. And now is a good time because right now we are at ground zero. So we can restart properly by getting our locals to supply and build back better, because you don't have 10,000 guests, you don't have 5,000 guests, you may start back with maybe 100, 200. So we can incrementally create those. And again, I believe that the necessary infrastructure should not be a problem to put in, because if there is guaranteed markets, the problem we've faced in this country is to have contracts. Everybody wants to give word of mouth. Word of mouth is fine when there is strong relationship, but what is so difficult in providing our farmers and fishers with a written contract to provide 200 pounds of fish from this time to that time? And of course, in this time to that time, it could be less because my spillover will be less and the price might be a little bit reduced because, and a contract don't mean that it has to be one price, one quantity for the whole year. You don't have to be that. It's what the agreements will specify. So I think we really need to have some sort of workshop seminar with some of these buyers to let them understand what this really could look like. We really need to have some work on that.
I think we have time for one more caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good.
I want to ask you guys, you talk about the fishing, right? Well, I think fish is about $8 a pound now, right? And it's kind of difficult for local people to buy fish. What about fish pond, where we can grow our local fish behind our house in ponds and feed our fish and grow our fish and sell our fish in the market at a cheaper price? And yes. Secondly, right, we talk about having meat, local meat for our population. And our cattle farmers, our sheep farmers, our goat farmers have been under attack daily by dogs and by other farmers, right? The point I'm trying to make is that I'm a cattle farmer. I don't know when last I see a vet, to be honest with you. So I'm providing meat to the population that I don't know if it's good or it ain't good. I don't know what's going on. The point I'm trying to make is that nobody is protecting this population from eating whatever they're eating. We need to have people coming around and check the farmers, make sure the cow is vaccinated, make sure this is happening, make sure that is happening, make sure, just help out the cattle farmers, basically, farmers in general. I don't see that happening in this country here. So you're going to be paying $10 and $12 and even $13 for beef just now. You'll be paying more for fish just now. In the long run, you guys won't be able to eat it. You're able to buy it. Because cattle farmers are going out of business, basically, because I'm planning on just giving up, basically. God enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. I mean, these are excellent. I really appreciate those points, my brother. And I'll tell you why. You hit right on the nail. The monitoring, and I up to last said that me and Dr. Cummings were discussing other matters, and I will hit him in a while. That program, not just wanting to grow more animals, but that whole looking at the whole health of these animals. I know before that you have the health inspectors at the abattoir But again, as I agree with you, right after the fact, how do we get that extensionist? And I think only recently the ministry will boast that they hired 3 new vets, which maybe is the best for a long time, so that they're able to provide more support to our livestock industry. So this I definitely going to follow up on. And in matter of the fish, yes, the issue of aquaculture, even within our local land space, this is thing that we used to do before. That is one aspect. The fish part, even on the outside, in the seas, but the fundamental point that you made, which I really want to zero in on, which I should have even touched earlier, but it means that you're on the ball. The cost of fish. Now, the fishermen selling a pound of fish generally for $5 or $6. I think $6 more like the snapper and the Hawaiian fish. $5 is the basic fish. And then we paid $8 for a pound of fish. You know? And that is a lot. Before, sometime about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, this was a price control item. Let's hold a discussion on that. This was a price control item where the vendors, the most they could have made on it as a markup, I think was $1, $1.25. That was what they were given. So you buy at $5, you sell at $6.50, at $6.25, something like that. But somewhere, that, and I think maybe it was to encourage export, I don't know. Somewhere in the last 15 or 20 years, if my notes serve me right, and that could be verified, that price, and again, the Ministry of Trade has to be called out again. What has happened? This is a control item. So I don't know if there was a declaration to uncontrol it, or if there was a moratorium to uncontrol it, but it uncontrolled. And this is the problem it shows us. When there is lack of control, what happens? So it got up to $8. And then after that is all, in fact, I was told, and I haven't gone to see there, in Grenville, in the fish market, in the fish plant there, you have fish sitting there from since last year that cannot be sold because just the rate of selling. So then you find all the guys, some of them on the side of the road selling, and you say, don't buy for them, it's unhealthy. But they realize, look, we can sell for maybe $1 less rather than $3. They're trying to make a living in the economy and make it more affordable. Of course, you may say the quality and they have the condition, etc. So the government again need to look at these things. And brother, your point is so valid, and if you can even give me a call, as I give my number earlier, and I'd really like to have a conversation. 405-2474. I would really like to have a chat with you and need to revamp this whole livestock industry in Grenada. Excellent call, brother.
Senator, we've come to the end of the program. I barely have 30 seconds to give you to wrap up, but your final thoughts as we close the program?
Yeah, well, what I will say is that it's all it is. I mean, I've been around in the representation for the last few months. I will say that the reception has been good. I think I have been trying my best. I think I would just continue to try harder. I'm very open and willing to connect with different folks. And so I want to see us working together, not working against each other, but working together and working with the government. We cannot work against the government because the government at the end of the day has to support what we do. And I want us to really be together and for a better country and better livelihood and a healthier nation. I'll be back again, hopefully, with God's help and willingness, maybe next month or so, where we can give another update and maybe we have an open line where we have persons call in and give their suggestion and ideas so I can able to recalibrate my agenda. So I think maybe the next session we should have an open line from the beginning, persons call in and give suggestions, ideas, that they want me to focus on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Senator St.Clair. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And of course, we'll link up again soon that you can return. There's already a request on YouTube for your return in short order. So
okay. And now it'll be open line.
No problem.
All right.
Have a good one.
Take care.
The Farmers and Fisherfolk representative in the Senate, Honorable Roderick St.Clair. Thank him so much for being our guest, and thank you, our viewers and listeners, for tuning in to The Point this morning. Mid-Morning Buzz is up next. Have yourselves a safe and productive Friday. I'll be back tomorrow morning, God willing, for Soca Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your day.